Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's Off the Carousel series. My name is Greg Waddell, and I am pleased to be joined by Dwight Perry, the head coach of the Wofford Terriers. Coach, first of all, how you doing? It's a fine Wednesday afternoon here in May. What's it like in South Carolina?
It's nice. I mean, right now, to be exact, it's sunny, 70 degrees. So sun's out. It's pretty well. We're actually finishing up. Our guys are finishing up finals this week before they head out, before they come back for summer school. And then obviously our guys that are graduating have graduation this Sunday. So things have kind of slowed down a little bit. It's obviously all relative, but things have slowed down a little bit this time of year.
Nice. I was going to say, I don't know if you know the history here, but Jeff Goodman here at the Field of 68, he's been known to just go MIA in the state of South Carolina for months at a time. So I'm hoping by the end of this call, maybe I'll have an invite down there to come soak up the 70-degree afternoons here over the summer.
No question. We get guys from a lot of different places at Wofford, different parts of the country, and honestly, different parts of the world. We have guys from Canada, have had guys on our team from Sweden, and then obviously really heavy in the Midwest. And so talking to some of those guys, some of our guys from Wisconsin area, they the 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were still dealing with some snow in certain parts of the state. So yeah, selfishly, I'm really glad and fortunate that we get to soak up this weather for sure.
I believe it. I'm here in Michigan, and it snowed no less than 3
I,
weeks ago here. So
yeah,
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. But
I
I
hear
want
you.
to I want to go backwards before we go forwards here, because for those that don't know, you've been a part of some of the best mid-major programs in the country. You've gotten to work with some of the quote-unquote biggest rising star coaches. So let's go all the way back to your time at VCU. You were GA under Shaka Smart, really during the heyday of Shaka's success at VCU. Did you know immediately when you got there what you were stepping into with that VCU program?
I did, and a big part of that is I had elite timing. I came in the year after they went to the Final Four, so I missed out on that. But like the rest of the country, I got a chance to witness it and see it in real time on my TV is with the run that they had. But no, it was apparent in a real quick and short amount of time that it was a special place. Obviously, he's a great coach, but then like being around, all the great coaches and assistant coaches there and guys that were GAs and video coordinators and ops guys there, like the collection of talent on the staff, obviously the players, that goes without saying. But the staff that Coach Smart assembled there from top to bottom it was really apparent early that it was a special and a unique group of people.
What was it like from a mental standpoint for you? Like I would imagine that feels almost a little intimidating for that to be like your entrance into the
Yeah.
coaching world on such a competitive point for that program.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways it was, and in other ways it was a very the atmosphere was still it was still centered on right togetherness and a great family environment with culture. And so when you're around all these different people and all these great coaches, right, from a Mike Rose to a Jamin Christian, Jeremy Ballard, Will Wade, Mike Morrell, right? Every single group of guys, Mike Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can't help but, I mean, just soak up all the information, all the knowledge that they have. And, outside looking in, it would seem like these guys, right? And especially it's so hard, even like back at that time, everyone knew that all of those coaches would accomplish what they have accomplished, but because they had not gotten to that point yet, everybody was obviously pouring into VCU, and obviously Coach Smart was the head coach, and then everyone under him was pouring into that same entity. And so it kind of felt like everyone was still in this together, even though obviously those guys have accomplished so many great things after that.
So from VCU, then you moved to Furman, where you got to work under two of the coaches that we love here at the Field of 68, Nico
Yeah.
Medved and Bob Ritchie.
Yep.
Furman now, I mean, I don't know if it was this way immediately when you got there, but now people around the country would look at that place like, oh, they go to the NCAA tournament. Like that's a competitive program. Did it feel that way right when you arrived? And how did you sort of help build that into more of a household name?
First off, I had a very, very small part in building that. Like, obviously, Coach Medved deserves a lot of credit, and obviously, what Coach Ritchie has done since then, since Coach Medved left, has only continued to elevate the program. But yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about sports, right? Is I was fortunate enough. Coach Medved offered me that job, and I'm coming from VCU. And there's a lot of people that would say, why would you leave where you were at VCU with what Coach Smart was in the process of continuing to build? To answer your question, and this is where like things that the profession is very small and life has a weird way of playing out. My first year at Furman, which was Coach Medved's second year, we finished in 10th place. And obviously Wofford won the league my first year. We finished in 10th place. We ended up making it to the championship game of the Southern Conference tournament as a 10 seed in last place, and we lost to Wofford in the conference tournament. That was my first year at Furman, and that was Coach Medved's second year. And so they, in his second year, finishing 10th place to by the time he left his last year, we won a regular season championship at Furman. And so in that short period of time, right, to see the evolution from year 1 to year 3 of my third year there. And then obviously I spent 2 years working for Coach Ritchie after working with, Coach Ritchie for those 3 years. I mean, obviously Furman is where they're at now, but I think the Southern Conference in general, of seeing the conference those first couple years, obviously Mercer, I think, was coming into their first year, was my first year in the conference, and they were on the heels of beating Duke in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, East Tennessee State has a rich tradition, but from where those programs were to even, where all of those programs and everyone else in between, where the conference has gotten to now, it's almost, I don't want to say it's night and day, but it's definitely grown and improved by leaps and bounds.
So what's it like when you find yourself across the baseline from Bob Ritchie, or I guess across the sideline, right? Is this is it a friendly shake your hand, let's see who wins, or is this I want to kill you today, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, he would probably say the same thing. I mean, I think it's probably you definitely want to go at the person on the other side, but it's like that with the other 8 opponents in our league too. He's no different. Because the reality is, like, in order to get to where we want to go, and I'm sure he would say the same thing, just like all the other coaches, is you're going to have to beat all these really good coaches that have really good teams, right? Like, obviously, I never was on staff and was on the program at the same time with Mike Jones at UNC Greensboro, except for 2 months before he got the Radford job. But still having a relationship with him and, a couple other guys like Donnie Lynn on his staff. I worked with Donnie as a video coordinator in GA when he was the video coordinator. You have all these relationships with a lot of different people, whether you've worked with them, whether you've, just gotten a chance to have relationships just through the way the profession works out. It ends up being kind of like this web with almost every single game. And so I think with anyone who's a competitor, right, it's not really personal, but yeah, you definitely want to go at, and your teams, you want those guys to have an edge to them to try to beat the other opponent as best you can.
Yeah, of course. That's the competitive edge, right? I'd expect every head coach to say something along those lines. So
No question.
I got one more. I guess I would consider this a fun one. You might consider this a cruel one for me to ask here, but let's take those 3 coaches: Shaka, Nico,
Okay.
Bob Ritchie.
Yep.
I'm not asking who's the best coach, not asking who do you want to coach your team in one game, but let's say you're down 1 with 5 seconds left, timeout, sideline out of bounds. Which coach do you want drawing up a play with 5 seconds left, down 1?
The coach I would want is definitely going to be the guys who has the best player. Now, having said that, I think all three of them while I was there, I think ironically, man, I'm bad with history. I don't think when I was at VCU we ever had the player of the year in the league. We had the player of the year when Nico was there, and we had the player of the year when Bob was there. But ironically, we never had the player of the year at VCU, but we ended up having four dudes that played in the NBA.
Right.
So I think that definitely more than balances out. So just off the talent standpoint, one thing I've learned with coaching, as great of a coach you can be, you better have some talent. I think if you have some NBA players at your disposal, that's probably the safe bet to go.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I appreciate that answer. I won't
No, no
even
problem.
consider that ducking the question. Some people duck that question. That's a real answer. All right, let's move forward, I guess, more to where your program is at now. So obviously last year, I guess a surprise to the outside public perception of this when Jay McCauley leaves mid-season, you're kind of thrust into the fire of interim head coach into now you are the head coach. How difficult was that in the middle of the season last year to sort of be thrown into that situation?
Yeah, I think it's more than anything, I think it's pretty unique. Just because I've never experienced anything like it. And as much as you try to talk to different people that have either experienced that themselves or been around it or know people that have, right? The one thing you're quick to realize is even in situations where people do take over mid-year, there's so many nuances, right? And there's so many complexities to the situation that it's never really an apples to apples situation that you can kind of compare it to. You can definitely take bits and pieces from, and I think one thing I was fortunate enough of talking to people, the information and the advice and the guidance that gave me, definitely I was able to take some of those lessons and apply it to my situation, which was it really proved to be invaluable. Um, but I think the thing the what we decided on early as a staff, not just myself, but Will Murphy, who was here, and Ty Anderson, who was here, and those guys are still with me on this staff now, is the number one thing was we wanted to be there for the guys, for our players. And so the biggest thing that we tried to stress, we wanted to be there for them, obviously give them what they need physically, obviously, whether it was, in the shots or, working on their game. But way more importantly, we wanted to be there for them mentally and emotionally. And that was not just going to be a one-day deal or a short-term deal. I think we were able to understand that was going to be right. That was going to be a lengthy process because there were going to be some ebbs and flows, and there was going to be an emotional roller coaster, not just when everything first happened, but throughout the whole season, which proved to be pretty true. But I do think us having a good grasp on that, and the staff really trying to pour into those guys to those three areas, I think really helped us maximize the situation.
Yeah, and to your credit, I think you guys did a great job of steadying the ship. I mean, a fifth place finish in a very competitive conference, obviously not the end goal necessarily of where you want to go going forward, but a lot of times when you see a situation like that from the outside, you can see a team's season totally fall off the rails and tank. That never happened with you guys, which I think is a huge credit to you and your staff. Just looking from last year's roster to next year's roster, you guys lose a lot, right? I'm sure you know that. You lose three of your leading
I was
scorers.
not aware of that.
Yeah, right. Am I breaking news to you, right?
I,
How much
I
of
was
that
thinking
is
I was thinking we got the leading scorer in the league back next year. I didn't realize he left.
how much of this is just this is something that teams at your level are going to have to deal with in the transfer portal era, and how do you combat that? Like, do you try to fight that, or do you embrace that with your guys? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think the one thing right off the bat, you definitely embrace it. And it's less about embracing the specific nature of a guy leaving or coming or going, and it's embracing our situation. Right. The reality is we're still, whether it's our staff or our players, Wofford is still a special place that will always attract great people and great players. That will always it has a tradition of winning. And so, right, I think having the perspective to understand that first and foremost, there's a lot of schools and a lot of programs out there that don't have that at their disposal, right? And that's tough. And everyone, there's a way to be successful at every program. So I'm not saying those schools, right, don't have a chance. But what I am saying is we are very fortunate to have a program that is still built for success and has an ability to have and attract a lot of special people. And then with that, I think, yeah, you have to understand, right? You cannot be able to be flexible and change with the times. You have to understand where college basketball is, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. This is where college basketball is, and you have to have a decent understanding of where it's probably going. And within that framework, you have to be willing, right, to adjust. Just like you talk about with a defensive scheme or philosophy or offense, right? You can't run the same offense in today's game that you did 45, 50 years ago, right? You just can't do it. You won't have success. It's not sustainable, and so it's the same thing with recruiting and how, I think running a program, there'll always be situations where guys come and go. I think there's no program under the sun that, in the next 5 years will never deal with it in some regard, whether guys want to go to the next level, whether guys want to play at a lower level and play more, whether guys, for whatever reason, want a different change of scenery. And I also think it's not an end all be all. It's not all or none. Like there's situations where change is necessary, right? Whether that's coaching, whether that's players, right? Change is not always bad. Now, again, there's a nuance in that of navigating what is positive and what is probably necessary change and what, maybe is less than ideal. But again, there's no situation that's ever going to be perfect. And so I think for us, the one thing that we've tried to do and we're going to continue to do is we're going to bring in really good people, first and foremost, that are really about the things and about the values that we believe in, that love basketball, that want to get a great education, that find value in playing the game that we want to play here. And as we continue to pour into those guys, again, not just in December when this kind of change, when the abrupt change happened, but just moving forward in our daily lives and the day to day, I really feel pretty confident that we're going to have the program that can have a lot of success here.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I know as a staff, we really believe in.
Yeah, and to your point earlier when I asked you which coach would draw up a play question, right? When you have good players in
Yeah,
this era, every single program that has great players is finding their players
no
targeted
question.
from other programs. It happens. So
It does.
certainly you had great players last year. I think you still have some very good players on this roster going into this year. Who are some of the names that fans should get to know now that will step up and take on some of that burden?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I mean, we have a really good core coming back. We were the 18th youngest team in the country last year, and we finished with the fourth highest win total out of that group. And obviously, we spoke on, some of the guys that left, and a couple of those guys, right, with us without having grad school, right, a Messiah Jones or BJ Mack. Those guys leaving, that we kind of knew that and could foresee that. So recruiting, we were able to kind of plan for that. And so I think a guy like Corey Tripp, right, took huge strides. He probably improved more than any player in our league from his freshman year to sophomore year last year. Um, and he's a guy that I just think he can do a lot of different things and is a really dynamic player at our level and will be a really good player this year in the league. And you can go down the line. I mean, you got a guy like Kyle, who led our league in field goal percentage and was playing, but he played behind, right, a Messiah Jones or a BJ Mack,
Yep.
right? When you have those two guys that, are a staple in our program and have won a lot and accomplished a lot, right? I think just naturally, like a lot of places, there's only but so many minutes to go around. But I really look forward to him having a big time year. Those two guys, I think, combined with the core group we have coming back, I feel really good about. And then bringing in some really phenomenal and high impact guys via the transfer portal and out of high school. I look for our group. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I can tell from just talking to you just a little bit here and the way you speak about other programs you've been involved in. Culture seems like
Yeah,
something that is critical to you and how you approach program building. What will be the culture of Wofford going forward under Dwight Perry?
yeah. I think a lot of times, right, when you're around a lot of great people, I think everyone expects you to be just like this person, right? Just like Shaka Smart, just like Nico Medved, just like Johnny Dawkins, right? You go down the line. And the reality is, I think, from my experience, because I can only go off my experience, I think you can draw from each of those experiences and pick little things from each person and then figure out, right, the question that a lot of people obviously ask, not just in basketball, but in life is, all right, like, who are you as a person? Who are you as a coach? And so, that's what I've tried to do, obviously in the second half of the year, but just moving forward too. Our program, I really, it's gonna be a program that is still built off fun and enjoyment, right? Like it can't just be a work, and there's no fun. I'm sure there are programs out there that are successful that way, but that's not something that gives me fulfillment and joy, out of life. And that's not something, honestly, like I want everyone in our program to just only be fixated on working and not find the fulfillment and joy out of that process, and having said that, the other side of that, there is going to be hard work. And so, we're going to be a program that definitely works hard, that is definitely tough, not just physically, but mentally, but we're going to have fun doing it. And in that process, having guys that are very skilled, right, that can do a lot of different things with and without the ball. I'm really excited about the culture of the program of having kind of those foundational pieces tied into it. And at the end of the day, like we all know, like there's going to be winning tied to that because at the end of the day, no one's going to have a job for long if you're not winning, and B, knowing that there's no joy and fulfillment out of not winning. I've never met a coach that enjoyed losing. And so, not surprisingly, I'm not going to be in that boat either.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's always more fun when you're winning, but luckily for you at Wofford, you guys have done a lot of that over the years. I
Yeah.
think you have a foundation to build off of here. All right, I'll leave you with a fun one here. What's the best spot to eat in Spartanburg?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. That's tough. I think we have some good ones. Wade's, which is right across the street from campus, is really good. You can't go wrong with Cribs downtown. Those are some pretty good spots. If you want a great steak, the Peddler is really good. If you want an overall great atmosphere, great food, Gearhards is another good spot. I'd probably say I'd probably say those four. You can't go wrong either way. As long as
How do you order
as
your
long as you're
steak?
paying. As
As
long
long
as you're paying.
I can make that happen. Maybe we'll get Goodman Field of 68 to build this. How about that? What's
That's really what we should do. We should do that and just send the bill to Jeff.
he
That really should be the plan. He can take care of that.
he doesn't need any prodding, I'm telling you, to come down to South Carolina. The problem will be you'll kick him out at a certain point. What's the steak order though? How do you take your steak?
You know what? I'm a medium guy. I've somewhat evolved. Growing up, I was well done, and then I went medium well in college. Now I'm at medium. If you talk to a couple guys on staff, I mean, they still want the thing. They still want it alive a little bit and moving on the plate. And they still give me a hard time for me having it medium. But again, it's all about evolution and growing. There's guys on our team that anything less than well done they don't want. So like at least I'm not the worst on that scale.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm right there with you, coach, for the record. Rob Doster gives me shit about it all the time, but I'm a medium guy. So
yeah,
I like the
I
answer.
I've grown. I just don't see myself going past medium. Any more than that is going to be a little tough for me. I'm going to be honest.
Hey, you got to play to your strengths, my friend. And
There you
across
go.
the board, whether it's steak ordering, whether it's roster building, you've certainly done that. That's why you are in position to now take over the Wofford program. Dwight Perry, thank you so much for doing this. We wish you good luck this year. Certainly a program that has made headlines before and will do so again in the future. Good luck, and thank you so much for being here.
Definitely. Thank you.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.